It was a world divided by wealth and poverty, where cities shone with glass towers and villages struggled with broken roofs and empty fields. He was a millionaire city boy, raised in luxury, surrounded by everything money could buy. Yet, his heart was restless, aching for something real. She was a poor village girl, barefoot on dusty roads, her hands calloused from work, but her spirit unbroken. Their worlds were never meant to meet, and yet fate had other plans. One rainy evening, he left behind the noise of the city and drove into the countryside, searching for silence. There, on a muddy road, he saw her for the first time, carrying a basket of vegetables, drenched by the storm, but walking with dignity. He offered her help, but she refused. That moment, her eyes spoke louder than words, strength, pride, and something he had never seen before. He couldn't forget her. The next morning, he found her again in the market, bargaining for every coin, smiling gently at children, standing tall despite the weight of hardship. She wasn't dazzled by his presence, wasn't moved by his wealth. And that shook him more than anything else. For the first time, someone looked at him not as a millionaire, but as a man. As days turned to weeks, he kept coming back. He helped her carry water, walked with her to the fields, listened as she spoke of dreams she feared would never come true. Dreams of educating her siblings, of lifting her family out of poverty. Slowly, walls began to break, and their hearts began to speak the same language. But love in such a world was never easy. Whispers spread through the village, mocking her, doubting him. Her mother warned her. His family summoned him back. Society stood against them. Yet still, he stayed. He worked under the sun with the farmers, ate from clay bowls, and lived as one of them. She watched in silence, realizing that he wasn't here for pity, nor for passing time. He was here because of her. And in those moments, at the riverbank, under the starlit sky, amidst the laughter of children, love began to bloom where no one believed it could. This was not just a meeting of two hearts. It was the clash of two worlds. One of wealth, one of poverty. One of power, one of struggle. And yet, together, they were about to write a love story strong enough to make history. It was a quiet dawn in a village untouched by time, where dusty lanes carried stories of survival, and the air was filled with the scent of earth after a night's drizzle. Children ran barefoot past clay huts, women carried water pots on their heads, and men tilled the fields with tired hands. In one of those huts lived a girl named Anaya, a poor village girl with eyes that held both dreams and sorrow. Her father had long passed away, and her mother struggled with illness, leaving Anaya to work in the fields, mend clothes, and look after her younger siblings. Life had taught her hardship, yet her heart still whispered of hope. Meanwhile, in the bustling city where glass towers kissed the clouds and streets overflowed with cars, lived Arjun, a millionaire city boy who had inherited wealth but not peace. He had money, power, and every luxury at his command. But each night, when he sat alone in his mansion, overlooking the skyline, he felt a hollow ache inside. The world saw him as the perfect heir, handsome, educated, and wealthy. But in truth, he was weary of shallow friendships and relationships built on money. He longed for something real, something pure, though he did not yet know what it was. Fate began its quiet work on a rainy evening. Arjun, tired of the chaos of the city, decided to escape for a few days. Without telling anyone, he drove his car out of the city, across highways, and deep into the countryside. The air grew fresher, the roads narrower, and the noise faded into silence. His sleek car looked out of place on the muddy village road, but he felt freer than he had in years. It was there, as he slowed near a broken wooden bridge, that he first saw her. Anaya stood with a basket of vegetables, her clothes simple, her feet dusty, yet her presence radiant. She struggled to balance the basket as the rain poured harder. Arjun stopped his car and watched for a moment, struck by the contrast between her world and his. He rolled down his window and offered her a ride, but she shook her head firmly, clutching the basket closer. She had been taught never to trust strangers, especially those who looked out of place in her world. Arjun smiled, amused and intrigued by her defiance. Most people bent before his money or charm, but this village girl looked at him with suspicion, almost annoyance. He drove ahead slowly, but her image stayed with him, her determination, her strength, and the strange calm in her eyes. That night, in the small village in where he stayed, Arjun couldn't sleep. He kept thinking of the girl who had refused his help. Who was she? What kind of life did she live? Why had her eyes haunted him so? He felt something he hadn't felt in years. Curiosity, not born out of business or wealth, but out of genuine human connection. The next morning, he wandered through the village market, dressed simply to avoid attention. And there she was again, selling vegetables, bargaining with customers, her voice steady but kind. He approached, pretending to ask about prices, but she looked up and recognized him instantly. Her brows furrowed as if to say, "Why are you here again?" He laughed lightly and bought more than he needed, just to keep talking to her. She gave short answers, cautious, but he noticed the faintest smile tug at her lips when he joked about not knowing how to carry vegetables without looking foolish. Over the next few days, Arjun found reasons to cross paths with Anaya. Sometimes at the well where she fetched water, sometimes on the path to the fields, sometimes at the small temple where she lit oil lamps at dusk. Each time, she spoke little, but he felt an invisible thread pulling him closer. She was not dazzled by his watch, his shoes, or his polished manners. She treated him like any other villager, perhaps even with more indifference, and that only deepened his fascination. But as their meetings grew, so did the whispers. Villagers noticed the city stranger talking often to Anaya, the poor girl who already carried enough burdens. Some shook their heads, warning her that men like him never stayed. Her mother, frail but wise, noticed too and asked Anaya about him. With a quiet shake of her head, Anaya said, "He's just passing through. Nothing more." Yet when she said it, her heart skipped, betraying her words. Arjun, too, faced questions. His assistant, who had tracked him down, urged him to return to the city. Business meetings awaited, deals worth millions hung in the balance. But Arjun delayed, saying he needed time to think. The truth was, he wasn't ready to leave. For the first time in years, he felt alive, seen not for his money, but for himself. And it was because of her. One evening, under the glow of lanterns at the village festival, Arjun finally gathered the courage to ask Anaya to walk with him. Reluctantly, she agreed. As they strolled past stalls of sweets and music, he listened as she spoke, really spoke, about her struggles, her dreams, her wish to educate her siblings, and her fear of being trapped in poverty forever. Her voice trembled at times, but her spirit shone. Arjun realized then that she was stronger than anyone he had ever known in the city. She had nothing, yet she carried herself with dignity and courage. That night, standing beneath the stars, Arjun whispered to himself that his life was about to change forever. And deep down, Anaya felt the same, though she would not yet admit it. Their worlds had collided, and destiny had just begun to write a story that no one could stop. The days in the village passed more quickly than Arjun had expected. What was meant to be a short escape from the city had become something else entirely. Each morning, he found himself wandering toward the market, the fields, or the small riverbank, as though some unseen force pulled him closer to Anaya. He began to notice the little things about her. The way her hands, calloused from work, still moved with tenderness when she tied her little sister's braids. The way her laughter, though rare, lit up her tired face. The way she spoke of hope as if it were a fragile flame she was determined to protect. Anaya, though cautious, could not ignore the city boy's presence in her life. At first, she had dismissed him as a curious visitor, someone who would leave as suddenly as he had arrived. But each time she saw him carrying water with the villagers, sharing food with children, or helping mend a broken cart, she realized he was not like the others she had feared. There was sincerity in his actions, and sincerity was rare in her world. Still, whispers followed them everywhere. The villagers spoke in hushed tones when they saw the two together. Some accused her of chasing after his wealth, others warned her of heartbreak. Anaya tried to block out the noise, but it lingered like a shadow. Her mother, too, was torn between worry and gratitude. She saw how Arjun brought medicines when her illness worsened, how he repaired their roof after the rains, how he treated them with respect. Yet she also knew the gap between their worlds was too wide, too cruel. Arjun's assistant returned one evening, more insistent than before. "Sir, the board is growing restless. Investors are demanding your presence. This village has nothing for you. Why are you wasting your time here?" But Arjun, for the first time in his life, did not care about meetings or contracts. He looked at the village around him, the muddy roads, the humble homes, the sound of children laughing despite hunger, and he realized this place had given him more peace in weeks than the city had in years. One evening, under a fading sunset, Arjun and Anaya walked along the fields. The silence between them was not awkward but comforting. Finally, Arjun spoke, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. "Anaya, in the city, I have everything people dream of. Cars, houses, power. But none of it feels real. None of it feels alive. When I come here, when I see you, I remember what it means to live. I don't know what destiny has planned, but I know one thing, I don't want to lose this." Anaya stopped, her eyes widening. She wanted to believe him, but fear tightened her chest. "You don't understand, Arjun," she whispered. "Your world and mine, they don't fit. People like you don't stay. And if you do, people like me pay the price." Her words cut deep, not out of cruelty, but out of the scars life had left on her. She turned away, hiding the tears that threatened to fall. Arjun did not argue. Instead, he placed his hand gently on her shoulder. "Then let me prove it to you. Not with words but with actions. I am not leaving, Anaya. Not until you believe me." And so he stayed. Days turned into weeks, and the bond between them grew stronger. They shared stories under starlit skies, laughter at village fairs, and quiet prayers at the temple. Arjun learned to till the soil, to walk barefoot on the dusty paths, to eat simple meals cooked on firewood. The villagers, though skeptical, began to see his sincerity. Children followed him with admiration, elders nodded with respect, and slowly, the whispers softened. But not everyone was pleased. A local landlord, who had long wanted Anaya for himself, watched with anger. He had power in the village and believed no poor girl could refuse him. Seeing her walk with the city boy only fueled his prideful rage. "She will regret this," he muttered to his men. And so, the seeds of conflict were sown. Meanwhile, in the city, rumors spread about Arjun's disappearance. Newspapers wrote of the millionaire who abandoned his empire. Relatives argued that he was being foolish, risking his legacy for a village girl. Invitations to elite gatherings piled up unanswered. The gap between his world and Anaya's grew sharper with every passing day. One afternoon, Anaya's younger brother fell gravely ill. With no money for proper treatment, despair filled the small hut. Arjun stepped in, rushing the boy to the nearest city hospital, paying for doctors, medicines, and care. For the first time, Anaya's defenses began to crumble. Watching him sit sleepless by her brother's bedside, whispering prayers she did not even know he believed in, she realized he was not playing a game. He was fighting for her world, as if it were his own. And yet, even as her heart softened, her fears grew. She knew love was never enough when society stood in the way. What if he was forced back to the city? What if his family rejected her? What if she became just another story of heartbreak told in hushed tones? One night, under a pale moon, Anaya confessed, her voice trembling. "Arjun, my heart wants to believe you. But my mind, it tells me this is a dream. And dreams don't survive in my world." Arjun's reply was simple, yet unshakable. "Then let's make it real. Even if the world stands against us, even if it costs me everything, I will not let this end as a dream. I will not let you go." The words hung in the air, fragile yet powerful, as the night breeze carried them into the silence. Both of them knew the battles ahead would not be easy. Love had blossomed, but storms were waiting. The night after Arjun's promise, the village seemed quieter than usual, yet beneath the silence, storms brewed. The local landlord had spread rumors that Anaya was deceiving the city boy, using her poverty to trap him. Whispers grew louder, and soon the village divided. Some defended Anaya's dignity, others mocked her family. For a girl already weighed down by hardship, it felt unbearable. Arjun heard the whispers too, but unlike others, he did not flinch. He stood taller, his voice steady whenever someone questioned his presence. "I am not here for wealth or business," he declared at the village gathering. "I am here because of her. And no rumor, no power, will change that." His words carried through the crowd, silencing many, but fueling the landlord's hatred. Days later, tragedy struck. The landlord, desperate to humiliate Anaya, blocked her family's access to the fields. Without harvest, they faced hunger. Anaya wept quietly at night, believing her family was suffering because of her. When Arjun learned of this, he confronted the landlord directly. "If it's me you despise, then take your anger out on me. But do not punish her family." The landlord sneered, mocking the idea of a city boy surviving in a village without wealth. And so, Arjun did the unthinkable. He gave up his comforts, choosing to live like the villagers. He worked under the scorching sun, carrying sacks of grain, helping repair broken huts, earning respect not with money, but with sweat. Slowly, the village that once doubted him began to see him as one of their own. Even Anaya, watching from a distance, felt her heart swell with pride. But the city did not remain silent. Arjun's relatives arrived, furious at what they saw. His uncle, the head of the family business, confronted him. "You are throwing away an empire for a poor girl who has nothing. Come back now, or you will lose your inheritance forever." The words cut deep, but Arjun did not hesitate. "If wealth demands I abandon love, then I choose love. If power means living without her, then I choose to be powerless. For the first time in my life, I know what matters." Anaya overheard those words, tears streaming down her face. She had feared he would one day leave, but hearing him defy his own family for her shattered the last of her doubts. Still, she hesitated. "Why, Arjun?" she whispered later that night. "Why would you sacrifice everything for me? I cannot give you what your world offers." Arjun smiled softly. "You have already given me what no world ever could: truth, simplicity, love. The city taught me to wear masks. You taught me to live with a heart." But the landlord was not finished. One stormy evening, he gathered his men to drive Arjun out of the village by force. They surrounded him near the fields, shouting insults, threatening violence. Just as the first blow was about to fall, the villagers, one by one, stepped forward. Men and women, elders and children, all formed a shield around Arjun. For the first time, they stood not in silence but in unity. "He is one of us now," they declared. "If you touch him, you touch all of us." The landlord, furious, retreated into the shadows, his power broken. The village had chosen love over fear, truth over corruption. Weeks later, under the vast sky, the village gathered again, not for conflict, but for celebration. Arjun and Anaya stood before a small temple, garlands around their necks, their hands clasped together. Their marriage was not lavish, not adorned with gold or diamonds, but with blessings and tears of joy. Children danced, elders sang, and the air carried hope like never before. As they exchanged vows, Anaya's mother wept silently, whispering, "My daughter will never walk alone again." Arjun's voice trembled as he promised, "From this day, I am not a city boy or a millionaire. I am yours, Anaya, in every way, for every breath." And so, a love story that began with chance, tested by society, and threatened by pride, ended not in defeat but in triumph. Together, they rebuilt the village fields, brought education for children, and opened clinics for the sick. With Arjun's resources and Anaya's compassion, the village thrived like never before. Their union was not just love, it was transformation. Years later, people spoke of them not as a millionaire and a poor girl, but as two souls who proved that love is stronger than wealth, stronger than fear, stronger than every wall built by the world. Their story became history, passed down from lips to hearts, inspiring countless others to believe that true love does not see riches or poverty, city or village, but only the soul within. And when the sun set on their wedding day, with lanterns flickering and laughter echoing across the fields, one truth remained clear: a millionaire city boy had fallen in love with a poor village girl, and together, they had written a love story that would never be forgotten.